Welcome, everybody, to the Off the Wall Hockey Show. It's a hockey show for hockey fans, part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. We are on episode 44, and we've got a whole new week of NHL action to talk about here tonight. It's another great week in the NHL, a lot of fun stuff going on. Some teams starting to really show that they are the cream of the crop in the NHL this season, while some other teams have really been struggling and they've sunk down towards the bottom of the standings. And we're starting to get to see a little bit of separation here between the teams that are good and then the teams that very clearly are having tough years. We'll be talking about all of that. All of our top stories, power rankings, 3 stars, the usual, and also per usual. Steele is here as my co-host tonight. Steele, we got another whole week of action under our belts and a lot more to talk about. You ready for a show?
Oh my gosh. I mean, look, I think when we were talking about this like right before the show, we actually are doing a show where we don't have any competition. There's no game action going on. So thanks everybody for hopping on, man. We're on board for 3 top stories each of us.
Yep.
And then we have our power rankings, our picks, our who's the hottest, who's the coldest, and all kinds of great stuff. I'll tell you what, man. The hockey just keeps getting better and better.
Yep.
And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to fly, man. Are you ready to fly?
Oh, I'm ready. I am ready.
Good deal, my man. Good deal. And you know what? We're fast approaching that 20-game mark, too.
Yeah.
So when we get to next week's show, we'll be at the 20-game mark.
Yeah, we will. And that's kind of a check mark along the way over the course of the season. The first 20 games kind of give you an idea of where teams are at, how they're looking. You get a good idea of what needs to be improved and, what teams are doing right if they're, doing well. So that's a big check mark along the course of the season. It's also about the 1/4 mark of the season. There's still a lot of time left, but at the same time, it's starting to get into the year. And it's not like, you can just, do a complete 180 and pull yourself out of a last place spot easily as you start watching these number of games remaining click down.
Exactly. And teams now start to get an identity. Teams now start to separate themselves in the standings, starting, with obviously the teams at the top really have just came out of the gates flying have just basically stayed like they just kind of took off and like just hit cruising altitude and said, all right, we're good. And we'll just stay here cruising altitude, and that's just kind of where they've been since the beginning.
Yep. All right. Top stories here. The biggest stuff going on around the NHL right now. Steele, if you want to start us off, what do you got here for your top story?
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. This is one of the things that we were talking about at the very beginning of the year, where we were looking at some of the teams, especially out west in the Pacific, and looking at them and going, man, Calgary, they could be there if certain pieces and things come into play. And, well, boy, howdy, haven't they?
They sure have.
Oh, my God. Okay. Last year, Calgary was beyond broken, as you said, at the beginning of the show before we were on camera.
Yeah.
They were very broken last year. And now that they've had a full year with their coach, full season now, they've gotten his system now.
Yeah.
The guys that want to be there have bought in. Johnny Gaudreau is playing really good hockey. Right? Their defense has been stepping up because all these things were sour notes from the team last year. Johnny Gaudreau, he didn't want to be there. He's looking to get out, blah, blah, blah. Yep. Right? The defense was suspect, not playing real well. Goaltending was, well, let's just say not so good. Right? And Markstrom, 5 shutouts already, and they're only like at the 14, 15 game mark.
Yeah. Yeah, he's having an unreal year.
Wowzer. Yeah, can I say that? Can I say that? But that to me, I think is got to be one of the top stories. I know that we'll get into your top story, and I can just reverse some of mine, but because of what we're going to get into next. But I really wanted to point this out. I really wanted to focus in on Markstrom, the goaltender who has had 5 shutouts. And look, let's face it, this Calgary team has not necessarily faced slouch teams. They did an Eastern Metropolitan sojourn and pretty much just kind of mopped up the East.
Yep.
Right? Came through 5 games and said, oh, the East? Yeah, no problem. Right? We can take care of you guys. No problem. And they did.
Yeah.
Okay. Handedly. Philadelphia 5-2. Beat Pittsburgh. Right? You know what I mean? So they beat these teams out East here really handedly. Went back home. Still was able to continue to play well. They've lost a couple of games, but they still are playing very, very well.
Yep.
Right now for Calgary, seeing as how where we expected them to be this year compared to where they were last year. They have really made that jump. I just hope they can continue. But I've just been blown away by just the addition of the coach, some rearrangement of the lines. Couple players left, couple players came in. Right? And this team just seems like a completely different team than what it was from last year.
Oh, absolutely. This is a completely different Calgary Flames team than the one that we watched last season. This is a team that we said, at the beginning of the year, Calgary was one of those teams that was, things could go really well or things could go really bad. And they needed certain things to fall into place for things to go really well. And like you said, those things have all fallen into place. Their goaltending, Markstrom's been absolutely outstanding. If he stays healthy, I think he's going to be in the Vezina conversation this year.
You'd have to. Yeah.
Absolutely. The road record. They are 7-2-2 on the road. I mean, this is a team that has absolutely no problem playing on the road, going into your city and beating you. And they've done it a lot this year already. I mean, they've played a lot of road games. They've already played 11 out of their 17 games have been on the road, and they're 7-2-2 on the road. Johnny Gaudreau is back looking like Johnny Hockey. Their defense has stepped up in a big way. Oliver Shillington has been unreal for them on the back end. Andrew Mangiapane having a ridiculous year goal scoring wise. Like they're getting Matthew Tkachuk is always good, but he's having another great year.
Yeah,
they're getting the production out of the guys that they need to get production out of. They're getting great goaltending. They've had a full training camp in preseason now to get Daryl Sutter's system down, and it looks like they're really responding to him as the new coach. Coming in towards the end of last year, he wasn't really able to change much, but now that he's had an off season, now that he's had a training camp and a preseason to get his style and his systems established, all of a sudden Calgary looks like a real threat. And they've absolutely been one of the most impressive teams to me compared to what my expectations were versus how they've actually played. This team has been way better than I thought they were going to be. They've still only lost 3 games in regulation. They do have 5 overtime losses, but they've only lost 3 games in regulation, which means they're getting points, at least 1 point, out of a large majority of their games. They've got a +20 goal differential. Flames have been very, very impressive.
Right, exactly, and that's why I couldn't not put this as at least one of the top 3 stories. To bring us into this, because I just really feel that Calgary, where compared to where we thought they were going to be to where they are, to where their expectations were to where they are. And if they can maintain, if Markstrom can continue to be healthy and play at this level, if the defense doesn't hang him out to dry, they continue to get offense, not just from Tkachuk and Johnny, but their supporting cast has also been very good.
Big time.
So that's why I couldn't not mention the Calgary Flames and Markstrom with the 5 shutouts as being one of my top stories.
Yeah, and their depth play, you talk about the supporting cast, their depth play, their secondary scoring has been so much better this year. The Flames were kind of one of those teams in the past that were so heavily reliant on those top 3 or 4 guys to do everything. Tkachuk and Lindholm and Johnny Gaudreau, and Monahan hasn't really been that good the last few years, and they were hoping that he could get back to being a point per game guy, but that hasn't happened. But this year, they're getting offense from the third line. They're getting offense from the second line. They're getting offense chipped in from the fourth line. They're getting defensemen involved offensively. Like they're getting such a more balanced attack, other than it having to be Lindholm, Gaudreau, or Tkachuk doing everything. That's not the case anymore. And I think, you look at Calgary being a team that struggled so much last year and was so near the bottom of the division. And then you see what happens when they do get that secondary scoring. All of a sudden, they're near the top of their division. And that just shows the importance of depth and depth production in the NHL.
Exactly. And so many people overlook that.
Yep.
They think, oh, yeah, we got, this top line this and this top line that, and then after that, then it just drops off the freaking rock.
Yeah.
Like what do you got after that? Like all you have to do is look at some of those types of teams. Like I think Washington's kind of like that. Once you get past the Ovechkin line, it just drops off. And I think Tampa Bay is kind of proving to be. They were that at the beginning, but now they're improving on that. You know what I mean? So they're more on the upswing on that, because they were kind of reliant on their stars, and they were missing a lot of depth. But Tampa Bay has been able to get more scoring from all the rest of the team. You know what I mean? So coming back on that one for sure. But really believe in Calgary here. Really like what's going on up there. Really believe in how that is turning around, and just couldn't deny all those shutouts, man, and
Definitely
wins.
Not.
So there you go. That's my number one story for this week.
Yeah, mine, we got to talk about the Ottawa Senators, because they're not playing games right now. And this is obviously a very unfortunate happening here. They've had 3 games postponed due to a COVID outbreak. They had up to 10 guys on the COVID list at one point. Yeah. The last few games that they played before these postponements, they were playing like half their AHL roster. Yeah. It turned into a big mess, and it's just really unfortunate because, with everything's progressed so much that we were hoping that this was going to be in the past. This was going to be a last year thing. This wasn't going to be happening this season. We weren't going to be postponing games. We weren't going to be having these outbreaks. Yep. And unfortunately, it's a harsh reminder that as much as things have gone back to normal in the world, and a lot of things, crowds are full, everyone's back to their normal lives for the most part, that COVID is still around and it still exists and it's not gone for good. And this was kind of a harsh reminder that it's still here. And the Senators, unfortunately, have been postponing some games that they're going to have to make up later. And hopefully we'll be getting some guys back soon so they can start playing again.
So I'm, looking, and I share your sentiment as far as the fact that I really felt that this was gonna be something of the past. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm very I don't want to get into why this is happening. Okay, I'm just sad that it is happening, because I am like you. I feel that this was something of the past, that this was something that, we were done dealing with, that, vaccines were mandated by the NHL. And it's kind of like, I mean, if you go back like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and the team would go through a round of the flu,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there would be 5, 6 guys missing, right? But they didn't call the games off, okay? And it was just oh, the flu's going around. Well, so this is kind of where you see where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why this is so difficult for me. I mean, look, I'm not trying to take anything away from the seriousness of what's being dealt with here. I'm not trying to take away from the seriousness of the flu or COVID. I'm not trying to compare the two at all. I am no doctor and I'm no professional. Okay. But I'm also a human being, and I'm also pretty much relatively aware of the fact that COVID is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's pretty much going to be here to stay.
Yeah.
No matter what anybody says, thinks, or does, COVID's here. It's just like one of those things where it's, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm not comparing. I'm not a doctor or scientist. It's like one of those strains of the flu where it came and it's not necessarily a good strain, but it came, it's here, and now we have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's kind of what I think is going on here, and there's gonna have to be that transition time of realizing that this is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that there's going to be some different protocols that will come about as the NHL has learns. I have also been very impressed with how the NHL has handled everything to this point,
Mm-hmm.
as far as making sure that the players remain safe as far as that's concerned. You know what I mean? Making sure that they were tested, and the fact that they successfully were able to play in the bubble and not have any outbreaks or any positive tests throughout that whole time. You know what I mean? And so I just feel that the NHL has done some things right.
Mm-hmm.
They have done some things wrong, mind you now. Okay, but I'm not going to be the negative the negative Nan here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm going to say that the NHL has done some things wrong, but they have done a few things right. And if they feel that it's in the best interest of the Ottawa Senators to postpone games that they can make up, okay, then that's what we have to do.
Yeah, I saw something today. Ottawa is looking to get back on the ice and start practicing again. They've had 5 straight days without any new positive tests. So,
oh, nice.
So after they're at the 5-day point now where nothing new is broken out. So they probably should be starting to get some guys back available relatively soon. Some of the guys have been on the list for the first guys to go on the list before everything really broke out. Should be able to come back relatively soon. And the Senators should be able to get back to practice pretty soon. Hopefully it's just these 3 games, and then they'll be back into action next week.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. That would really, really be great. It's like I said, it's not something that we want to see. It's not something that, it's just one of those unfortunate things that we have to deal with during this hockey season as mandated by the NHL and their protocols.
Mm-hmm.
And they are erring on the side of caution. And so they have postponed what are they up to now? 3 games? I know they postponed the game tomorrow too.
Yeah, 3
games now they're up to now.
Yep.
Okay, so depending on if they make it through that next round of testing and they're able to get some players back, then they'll be able to start practicing again and then hopefully start playing again. So hopefully we can see the Senators back. It was very unfortunate that it was the Vancouver that went through it last year, right? That just got rocked.
Yeah, they had a real bad
down
go
for 28 days or something.
Yeah, they were
crazy.
down for almost a month without playing, and they had to make up all those games at the end.
Exactly, which they did make up. You know what I mean? So, but still,
Yeah, Ottawa's first game back, if it just stays at these 3 games, would be Monday, November 22nd, which is this coming Monday. They would be at Colorado on Monday night, so it'd be a road game for them. The last game that is postponed officially as of now is the Rangers game that was supposed to be played tomorrow. And then that's the end of the current postponements, and they would be playing at Colorado on Monday, as long as they're able to return on time. And their next game after that is at San Jose. So they're actually getting ready to go on a Western road trip. So hopefully they're able to come back on Monday and not have to miss that road trip, because that would really be a headache for the schedulers if they would have to move that trip out west.
That would be putting it mildly, I would think.
Yeah.
If they had to start moving, and I think that's where it's they showed last year that they were capable of, doing that on the fly.
Yeah,
right?
Last year was a little bit easier because the divisions were more geographically aligned, and you were only playing within the division. So it's not like you didn't have Ottawa going to San Jose last year.
Exactly.
So it would be a little more difficult this year, like to go Colorado, San Jose, Anaheim, which is Ottawa's next 3 games. Like making that up would not be an easy task for the scheduling.
Exactly. So hopefully it only stays at 3 games.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so we're just, like I said, we're always hoping and, praying for the best for these guys, because we want the guys on the ice.
Yeah, hopefully everyone is able to fully recover quickly and, get back to full health as soon as possible and get back out there and start playing again.
Exactly. And that's what we really, that's what we're about. We're about the guys being out there, being healthy and playing. You know what I mean? And that's what we really care about here. And that's what it's all about. So I'm just glad that they're kind of erring on the side of caution.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And just trying to, I guess they're just doing what they feel is best. Right.
Yeah, so. And it's good that none of the teams that Ottawa played leading up to this has had any sort of major outbreak or anything. I mean, there are guys on the COVID list, but not any sort of major large-scale outbreak that would shut another team down or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. Like that they had exposed.
And
another team.
Yeah, we don't have another team with 10 guys on the list.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So, look, and there's sporadic teams that have a couple of players here and there.
Oh, yeah, it's been going on all year. There's been guys on and off the list, and it was usually been like 2 or 3 guys for each team, and then they'd go on, they'd come off, and nothing would really be interrupted.
Yeah, they would still be playing. They would still be doing the games and those kinds of things. And so, I'm with you. So, but still, the fact that these games have been, postponed is something I feel that is a major point here that needs to be addressed. And it's sad that we can't get to watch these games, and it's sad that these guys are going through this, and I feel bad for not just the coaches and the players, but all their families and everything too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, my friend. Well, what do you got at number 2 for your second biggest story?
Ryan Getzlaf, big 1,000. It's not every day you get to see a player score his 1,000th career point. And Ryan Getzlaf did just that this past week. We knew that he was close. He was close coming into the year. We knew that at some point this season he was very likely to hit 1,000 points, assuming that he stayed healthy. And I'm think it might be a little surprising how early in the season he did it, because he's having an unbelievable year. He looks like the Ryan Getzlaf of like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, you think?
But this just goes along with Anaheim in general in the incredible start that they are having. Ryan Getzlaf, their captain, who spent his entire career with the Anaheim Ducks, has hit this incredible milestone in his career this season, and did it with an assist the other night. And it was it was a good play, and he's picking up points at a very, very high rate this season. We really looks like the old Ryan Getzlaf. Doesn't look like his age at all so far this year. It's unbelievable how he's kind of turned the clock back this season. But huge congratulations to him. He is an all-time great Anaheim Duck. And obviously, anybody that spends this much time with one franchise is a legend for that franchise. But he's an NHL legend, and he's one of the, I think he was the 92nd player in NHL history to hit 1,000 career points. So you got to think about how many players have played in the NHL over the history of the league. Over 100 years, how many players have played in the NHL, and less than 100 of them have scored 1,000 points, and Ryan Getzlaf is one of those few that have hit this mark. And just want to give him a huge congratulations, because that is unbelievable.
I mean, there's 1,200 or no, what is it, 1,200 or something crazy like that? 1,200 total players, or no? It's is it 600? 600 total players.
I can do quick math here.
600 total players.
There's 23-man roster. 23-man roster times the 32 teams. 736.
There you go. So 736, and they've pretty much have had the 23-man roster for a really long time.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure back in the day it was either more or less, depending on what it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But even if you take that as an average and go all the way back, the fact that you could probably say in that span, so that's how many, 730 players in one season?
Yeah, 736. Well, 736 could be on NHL rosters right now. You've got call-ups and send-downs. The sheer number of players. I would love to know how many players have played an NHL game.
Yeah, that would be a cool little.
Over the history of the league, how many players have played in the NHL?
Oh, you're typing it in now.
I don't even know if this is going to be in something that can even just easily be found and come up.
Man, you would really set the internet off if you typed that in.
7,623 players there have been. All right. It says completed in detailed game. NHL.com has game-by-game statistics for each of the 7,623 players who have competed in the NHL since 1917.
Oh my God!
So over 7,600 players have played in the NHL.
There you have it.
And less than 100 of those have scored 1,000 career points. And Ryan Getzlaf is one of those less than 100.
You see, now, just doing that stupid, sick math just goes to show you what kind of rarefied air he's in.
Yeah.
To score
1,000 points is a huge, huge milestone. That is a big deal.
I mean, there's only how many NHL players have done that? 100?
I think he was 92, so they're not even quite to 100.
Not even quite to 100. So what does that tell you? Of the 7,000 over the last over 100 years, and there's only been 92 guys. That's finding a way to put the freaking puck in the net, man. Or helping people to put the puck in the net, or I don't care what you talk about, man. That's finding twine right there.
Oh, yeah, and just...
Whew, man, holy moly. That's getting it done, man. But you know what, though? What's really amazing is that my second top story is guess what?
Oh, the Anaheim Ducks.
The Anaheim Duck streak ends at 8, but Troy Terry is just still going strong at 16.
Yeah, Troy Terry has been nuts this year. He's playing his way onto Team USA.
Yeah. You think?
I mean, I don't think many people would have had Troy Terry making Team USA to go to the Olympics before this season started, but
Yeah,
how
no.
can you leave him off now? Like if you're building a team to win this year now, has there been anybody better this season? I mean, Troy Terry is literally one of the leading scorers in the NHL.
It, I
How
mean,
could you leave him off at this point?
he's in the same conversation as the Leon Dreisaitl's and the Connor McDavid's and I mean, he's in that kind of conversation right now.
He is fourth in the NHL in points right now. He's the fourth leading
Who's the
scorer.
top three?
Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, and Alex Ovechkin.
Okay.
I don't think either, and those guys are going to have no problem making their respective Olympic teams. Right behind Troy.
Ovechkin doesn't want to play. He'll still be asked.
Behind Troy Terry is Kyle Connor. He'll be on Team USA. Evgeny Kuznetsov, Brad Marchand, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Johnny Gaudreau, Ryan Getzlaf.
Holy moly.
I mean, these are all Olympians around Troy Terry. Troy Terry's got to make Team USA now. I don't think you can leave him off after the season that he's having.
You would have to, I mean, you know what's going to end up happening, right? He's going to probably be left off.
I don't know how.
I know.
I don't know how they could justify that.
I know. Who could you even remotely? There's nobody, but they'll find a way to mess it up. I'm sorry. They always find a way. It's like you can do it. No. Canada comes in and swoops in and takes it right out from underneath them. Oh, well.
Well, they need the best players they can get, knowing how stacked Team Canada is going to be.
So if you're thinking and you're smart and you're listening, because we know that all Team USA hockey guys are listening to Off the Wall Hockey Show. Because if you're not listening to Off the Wall Hockey Show, a hockey show for hockey fans, then you're missing out. But, you can't not help but put him on the team. I think he gives the Anaheim that energy, that spark. He's young still. He's able to do those kinds of things that they need somebody to step up and do. I mean, we didn't think that Anaheim was going to be even remotely in the conversation this year.
No.
Did we? Right?
No, we thought Anaheim was going to be a bottom of the division rebuilding team.
I mean, we all thought that, the three California teams were going to be fighting for that, fifth spot.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Or maybe even the fourth spot, maybe. But I don't think we thought that we were going to see Anaheim playing this well against the opposition that they've played against.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't, it's not like they've been lacing it up against the slouch teams. Look, I admit that Pacific and the West is a little weaker than, the East.
Yep.
I would think this year.
Yep.
There's only a couple of strong teams in the West, where there is a whole plethora of strong teams in the East. So, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? But with what Anaheim's doing, with what Troy Terry has been doing, with what those Ducks have been doing, man, I'll tell you what, they are playing like we even talked about with Calgary. They are definitely playing way and above where we thought they were going to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anaheim has been such a good surprise this year, and just playing light years ahead of where people thought they were going to be. And they have that great mix of veteran guys like Getzlaf, like Shattenkirk, like Manson and Fowler, and then they also have the young guys like Terry and Lundestrom, and these young guys coming in. Zegras and Drysdale.
He has been. Look, we didn't even talk about him
Yeah, Zegras has got 6 goals and 10 points already, and he missed a couple of games, but he's playing really well too. I mean,
and they've got a lot of prospects that are just kind of chomping at the bit.
Yeah,
that are really good. I mean, Zegras. Come on. We haven't even mentioned him. 6 goals, 10 points already. Come on.
Yeah.
Young, very young. This is what, third year, second year?
Well, he's technically a rookie this year. He played a limited number of games last year, but not even enough to qualify as a full NHL season. He's a rookie. Zegras is a rookie this year.
Okay, so there you have it, folks. There you have it. He was drafted in 19 or 2020?
19, I think.
19?
He wasn't 2020, I know that. He must have been 19.
No, he wasn't. 2019.
He was 19, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he was probably one of our prospect watches that we were doing, last year.
Oh, yeah, he was.
I guarantee it.
Yes.
I guarantee we were doing this guy.
Absolutely.
And we haven't even talked about it, Walt Kingdom. We're talking about him now. But the fact that exactly with what you said, John, you pointed it out perfectly. They have a good mix of the veteran guys like the Getzlaffs, like the Shattenkirks, who, man, he has turned out to be quite the acquisition for them.
Yeah, he's having a really, really good year.
I mean, they picked him up last year at the trade deadline. Am I correct on that, or did they get him at the beginning of last offseason?
He was there all last year.
All last year, okay.
Because he left Tampa Bay. He was on Tampa Bay's first Cup team, and then he was a free agent, and he signed with Anaheim.
Okay.
And was there all last year. And last year was a bit of a struggle, as it was for everybody in Anaheim. But then this year, all of a sudden, it's like St. Louis Blues Kevin Shattenkirk is back.
How you doing? You know what I mean? And that was a good Shattenkirk.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is one of the best names in hockey.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says, man. That is one of the best names in hockey.
Yeah.
Shattenkirk, come on.
God, I remember watching him because he played college hockey at Boston University.
Okay.
I remember when I was a little kid, watching him because he's been in the NHL for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
But just
exactly
seeing him go from college to the NHL and what he's been able to do in the NHL, just incredible.
Exactly.
And it's wild to think, like, I was watching him at BU back in the late 2000s, like before his last year was 2009, 2010 in college, and then he went to the NHL.
Yeah.
It's been incredible to watch him throughout his career. And then, he became such a great top 4 guy for the Blues, and then got traded to the Capitals in 2017, and then then went to the Rangers, signed that huge contract with the Rangers, and absolutely fell flat on his face. Yeah. And it was terrible with New York, and got bought out of that contract. And then Tampa Bay picks him up on that 1-year deal that was just kind of a, let's show me what you can do. Let's hope you can get your career back on track. Actually has a really good year that year with Tampa Bay. They win the Stanley Cup, and then he signs with Anaheim. And think of it, last year Shattenkirk had 15 points in 55 games and was a -8 with the Anaheim Ducks last year. So far this season, through 18 games, he already has 14 points, which is 1 less than he had all of last year, and he's a +6. Completely turned his game around from last year to this year.
Yeah, exactly. But that points to exactly what we've been talking about, the fact that they have that good mix of veteran players, and then they have the guys like Zegras, like Terry, that are the young up and coming players as well too. And they've also been getting really good goaltending.
John Gibson deserves lot of
Gibson
credit.
has been playing so well.
Yeah, Anaheim's not where they are without John Gibson playing out of his mind. I mean, goaltending is such an important thing in the NHL for everybody, but Anaheim is not even close to where they are without John Gibson playing the best hockey of his career so far this season. He has been on another planet so far this year.
Thank you, sir. What he said. Because I couldn't even have said it any better. But exactly. You can't even talk about Anaheim unless you have, well, they wouldn't have the wins if he wasn't back there stopping the puck.
No, he's got a .926 save percentage and a 2.31 goals against.
That's pretty darn good. And that says a lot, too, about the defense playing in front of him, too.
Yep, they're a lot better.
Yeah, with the when you look at the goals against average.
Yep. Right,
that usually helps to kind of be the gauge of where their defense is.
Yeah, goals against is I think more of a overall team defense
That's what
stat
I mean,
compared to a goaltender's stat.
Exactly.
Save percentage is the stat that I go to for how an individual goalie is playing.
Agreed.
100%, save percentage is if you can be on a bad team and give up 3 goals a game, but if you're got a .930 save percentage, you're doing everything you can in goal. It's the team in front of you that's the problem.
Exactly.
And likewise, if you have a great defensive team in front of you, you could only have like a .905 save percentage, but your goals against could be like 2.3 because the team in front of you is so good. But when you have a low goals against and a high save percentage, that means everything is clicking, and that's where the Anaheim Ducks are at right now.
Exactly. And so are Calgary.
Yep.
Right. And that also leads to being a plus as a team.
Goal differential will be plus if that's the way. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay.
And if your goal differential's plus, you should be winning a lot of games. Because if you score more goals than you give up, generally you win. So
yeah, generally. That's how that generally works.
For the most part. There are some exceptions. Like we've seen teams with plus goal differentials not make the playoffs, and that's because in their wins they win by a lot, but then they're losing close games and they lose too many close games, and that doesn't drag their goal differential down, but it racks up some L's in the loss column.
Exactly. Or you can have the exact opposite where the team might be winning, but their goal differential is a little bit askew and they're in the negative.
Yeah, because they win a bunch of 2-1 games and their goal differential's +5, but they just picked up 5 wins. Then they lose one game, 7-1
or 7-1,
and all of a sudden their goal differential's negative. So yeah,
exactly.
It can be skewed a little bit, but generally speaking, if you're keeping the puck out of your net and you're scoring goals, you're going to win games.
That's kind of usually a pretty good recipe for success in the NHL. And I mean, if you're putting the puck in more often than the opposition, you're tending to win more games.
You're in good shape.
Yeah, you're doing better there. So
I would agree with that.
You're right. It's not rocket science here, folks. Really, it's not. Okay.
No, hockey's a simple game when you get down to the bare bones of it. It's a simple game. There's a lot of added on stuff that makes it a little more complicated, but the bare bones of it is very simple.
When you add the human element, that's when it complicates the game. Because let's face it, hockey is very simple. You have 5 on one side, 5 on another side, and each team has a goaltender.
Yes.
The referee drops the puck. Your goal is to try to get the puck in the opposition's goal.
Yep.
And the other team is supposed to do the same exact thing. Doesn't matter how it gets there, just as long as it does. So that is the simplicity of hockey. But then you put guys in there like Draisaitl, or Markstrom, or Terry, or Shattenkirk, or pick somebody. Now you got human element now.
Well, you also add in the 80+ rules as well that get thrown in there in the NHL rule book. That
I was getting there. Gosh, man,
makes it.
And then you throw in 20,000 screaming fans.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're starting to get what I'm talking about now. But really, okay. Yeah. You ready for the third top story?
Yeah, this is a quick one, but wanted to touch on it because we have a new building in the NHL. We not only have a new team and slash building with Seattle, but we have another new building in the NHL, the New York Islanders.
It's ready.
It's finally ready. I think that's kind of the big story here is that it's finally ready. UBS Arena will be hosting its first game tomorrow night. The Islanders finally return home after starting the season on a 13-game road trip, and they will be playing host to the Calgary Flames tomorrow night in the first ever game at UBS
Welcome
Arena.
home.
And boy, I think even to add on to this story is, boy, do the Islanders need a home game, because they have been struggling, especially the latter part of this road trip. And kind of not unexpected, starting the year out 13 straight on the road is not a way that any team wants to start out the season. That's a really tough schedule to start. And the Islanders were holding their own for the first majority of this road trip. But then it's really fallen off. The wheels have fallen off the wagon here the last week or so. They've lost 4 straight now. They finished it up with the Florida trip, which that's just sadistic. I mean, making them finish this road trip with Florida and Tampa Bay back to back.
Well.
I mean, that is just a brutal way to end it. And they got blown out in both.
Could you see the schedulers? Right? Could you see the schedulers going?
Yeah.
Yeah, New York Islanders play Florida and Tampa Bay Lightning.
I think the schedulers are Ranger fans, because they're definitely not Islanders fans.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
But they made him finish it off with the Florida trip and have to play on the road against 2 of the best teams in the league, and they got blown out in both games. And the Islanders have really started to struggle here, so they need to get home, and they are getting home, but they need to perform on home ice, because now all of a sudden they find themselves in last place in the Metro Division. Now, last place in the Metro would not be last place in any other division, but
that's not a good hole you want to be in right now.
That's not where you want to be in a division this good, because the Metropolitan Division has 8 solid teams in it, some extremely good teams in it, but at least every team in the division is at least a solid, decent hockey team. There's no Arizona, there's no Ottawa, there's no Vancouver in the Metro Division.
True.
There's nobody that you're just going to walk over and pass in the Metro.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a very difficult division. So the Islanders have dug themselves a hole here where they're now in last place. They're under 500. And they're going to have to win some big games on home ice to dig themselves out of it. Now, the good news is they're back on home ice, and they've already played 13 road games, which means they are at home a lot the rest of the season. I remember earlier this past week, I was looking ahead because I was like, the Islanders have to be going home soon, right? And sure enough, it was this weekend. And I looked ahead to the December schedule. They're at home a lot. January, they're at home a lot. So they're going to have to take advantage of these long home stands that they're going to be on and win these games on home ice.
Exactly. And you know what? This is why we kind of break the season up into that first 20 games, because the next 20 games is going to get us to the Olympic break and the All-Star break. Or thereabouts.
Pretty close,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty close. It's going to be like maybe 25 games.
Yeah, it's like 25-ish games, but
okay.
We're getting there.
It's close enough to where you can almost get to that 20-game mark, maybe even the 25-game mark, and go, okay, here we are now, the first quarter mark of the season.
Yeah.
You know, and by the time we get to just about the halfway point, you know what I mean? That's kind of where we're getting at. And if you're coming into a boatload of home games at that point in time during the year, especially in New York, where you don't have to travel, you don't have to worry about dealing with weather and flying out during weather and all that other stuff. All of the other teams have to worry about that now. You know what I mean? And now, you know, the team is all going to be home for the holidays now. And you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, exactly what you said. Islanders, now you're going to get some home cooking right? Get yourself, girded up with all that home cooking and put some wins down. Because that's exactly what they need to do here, because they're in quite the hole in the Metropolitan. And you really, and that's why I was kind of marking those 25 games, because if they're able to take advantage from between now and that mark of the season, then they still have a chance. But if they continue to slide and continue to fall down the hole, then there's probably going to be a point where there's no turning back.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the Islanders' upcoming schedule now that they're going back home. They didn't give them easy games to return home to.
Well, no.
Oh my! So Saturday they have the Flames. Sunday they have the Maple Leafs, who are red hot, and we're certainly going to be talking about them later in the show.
Oh yeah, I believe they're going to be coming up.
Wednesday they have the Rangers, and then Friday they have the Penguins. Now the Penguins haven't been playing great, but they did just destroy Montreal. But everybody's destroying Montreal.
And did you say the Rangers are in that mix too?
They have the Rangers on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I mean, Calgary, Toronto, and New York are all very tough games. And even though Pittsburgh hasn't played that great this year, that's still a tough game.
Yeah.
And then they go out on the road for a couple, and they have the Rangers again, and then they have Philadelphia, who started the season very strong.
Yeah.
And then they come back home for San Jose, who has been up and down this year, but they just beat Minnesota the other night, can play well when they're on their game. And it's like they did not return home to an easy schedule either. Like, this is a tough start to the year for the Islanders, and it's going to be a rough go for them to try and not let this get too deep of a hole that they're in.
Exactly. I think we saw this last year with was it Vancouver that came out and started off like the first 10 or so games on the road, or 13 or 11 games on the road, or
I don't remember.
Or no, it wasn't they played on the road. They just played like 11. They played 11 games in 13 nights.
Yeah, that was Vancouver, who was playing a lot. They were playing like 3 games
11 games
4 nights. I think they did it twice in like the first 3 weeks of
first
the
half of
season.
it, right.
And then
I think they played a total of 11 games in 13 or 14 nights. Or something crazy like that, right?
Yeah, it was a lot. They were like playing almost a ridiculous schedule to start the season last year. That was Vancouver. Right.
Okay. So this is the Vancouver from last year. The Islanders are getting the odd man, the derp schedule, if you will, the odd one, the one that gets the most pile of caca on it. Yeah. I mean, let's face it. You open up with 13 road games. Your stadium finally opens. You do get some home games, but your home games are against some really tough teams. And, that's the definitely different thing about what's going on this year. We're back to the original alignments.
Yep.
So it's not the same, you're not going up there and staying up there and playing them for the next 4 or 5 games. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. No, it's a whole different ball game now with the full season this year.
Yeah. All right. So Islanders return home this weekend. Finally, after starting the season with 13 straight on the road, they will be opening up UBS Arena tomorrow night against the Calgary Flames. Then playing again there Sunday against Toronto. 2 tough games to start with, but they're definitely going to be happy to be back on home ice. That is for sure. For sure. And obviously there'll be a lot of energy around the team and in the building, with it being a grand opening and the first ever game played there. I would expect that to be very loud, well attended, and definitely a lot of energy for that game for the Islanders.
For sure. And, I don't know, man. That's a really tough game.
Oh, yeah.
To just skate into the Calgary Flames.
Calgary's 7-2-2 on the road, so I don't think it's going to phase them at all.
They don't care.
No.
They're just coming into your building to whoop your butt.
They're there to ruin the party. Calgary is there to ruin the party.
There you go. They very well still could do that, especially with the Islanders kind of, hitting the bad end of that
Yep.
13-game opening games on the road. They're hitting that bad end of it where they haven't been playing very well.
Mm-hmm.
This is not one of those games or teams that you want to see coming into your building for your first game.
No, God, I bet they
One of the
wish
hottest teams in the league coming
I-
in, and you're like, oh, can we just skip this game?
I bet they wish it was Vancouver or Seattle or
That's what I
somebody
mean,
like that,
yeah.
and it's not. It's Calgary.
Yeah, right. Could have we gotten Arizona or somebody? No. Look, even Arizona, even though they haven't really won a
They're
lot,
playing better.
I tell you what,
They just beat the
they
Blues.
work hard.
Oh, they're an extremely hardworking team.
They
just
hard.
beat the Blues. They took the Blue Jackets to a shootout last night.
I know.
That team's starting to play it better. They were awful to start the year, but they're starting to get a little bit better.
Starting to get better. But
I don't think we're ever going to see them on this next list as we go into top shelf here. Our NHL Power Rankings now, another week into the season. And we're probably not going to see Arizona in the top 5 at any point, but I will give them some credit. They are playing better here recently. And we're going to go through our top 5 teams in the Power Rankings right now, according to each of us. And we have the same teams, it looks like, but a different order. So, Steele, if you want to start us off, who is your number 5 team right now in the NHL?
Well, how about that? What was really funny is that we did it again.
Mm-hmm.
Today, right? I'm sitting there and I went and opened up the email and the outline came out, and then I started typing. Then I see you started typing. It's like, okay, yeah. So I didn't even realize that we had the same list of teams in our top 5 power rankings, our top shelf power rankings, and my number 5 team is the Edmonton Oilers.
Mm-hmm.
At 12-4-0, they have just been playing lights out. They've been crushing their opponents. They don't care who you are. They just win.
Mm-hmm.
They they just make you look silly because Draisaitl and McDavid just skate around your entire team to score goals.
McDavid did it again.
I know that's
unbelievable. Literally, it was almost the same goal.
Same goal, right?
He did it. He just did it again.
Moves. Yeah,
it was like the goal of the year, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Goal of the year! I can do this whenever I feel like it." Like,
here, let me do it again.
Yeah,
just
it's
to show
absolutely insane.
Right. So, like I said, you gotta put Edmonton on this list.
Oh yeah,
they have been putting it together with defense, which we thought was going to be suspect, with goaltending, which we thought was going to be suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that has really been coming around, man. Korpisalo has been playing freaking Koskinen, sorry.
Yeah, Mikko Koskinen's been unbelievable for this team.
Holy smokes, right?
I just worry about him getting overworked and getting burnt out long term.
And is Smith back yet?
No, Smith just got moved to LTIR from regular IR.
Okay.
He's got a lingering lower body issue, and it doesn't seem to be heading in the right direction. So they're going to be relying heavily on Koskinen, and I worry about him getting overworked.
Yeah.
But it's still early, so that's for down the road.
Right, true, but their defense has been playing well. They've been really, I mean, come on. You got some of the best players on the planet on Edmonton. How could you not put them on the top 5 list? I have Edmonton at 12-4-0 as my number 5 team.
Yeah, I'll be talking about Edmonton in a bit. I got one more thing to add about them, but I'm going to save it because they're on my list. But not at number 5. My number 5 team is the Washington Capitals. They worked their way back onto the list this week. For me, they are 10-2-5 on the season. They're playing really good. They're playing well out on their Western road trip that they're on right now. This is a team that, with missing significant pieces, no TJ Oshie, no Nicholas Backstrom. Lars Eller just went out. Like, they're missing some important pieces. Just doesn't seem to phase them. They're winning games, and they're getting points. They're accruing points, and I want to make a big point. One of the biggest reasons Washington's on this list over some of the other teams that I thought could have been at number 5 is that they only have a 2 in that regulation loss column.
Exactly.
So that means that even when they're losing, and they've lost quite a few games in overtime, they've already racked up 5 OT losses.
Yep.
But they're at least getting a point out of those games. This team is not losing in regulation. And those extra points, when you can get an OT loss instead of a regulation loss, those extra points add up at the end of the year. And that's, to me, what makes Washington so impressive, on top of what they're doing with key players out of the lineup.
Okay, so you basically... because I'm going to talk about them here in a little minute.
Yeah.
Because I have them on the list a little bit differently, but that was exactly what I was going to say. That's why I have them on my list as well, too, but not quite yet.
Yeah.
So you have Washington at number 5. I have Edmonton at number 5. Who do you have at number 4?
Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto has got it. I mean, they're just absolutely on fire right now. Yeah. I don't see any way to leave Toronto out of the top 5 at this point with what they've been able to do over the last few weeks. I mean, you talk about a team that is absolutely streaking. Toronto has won 5 in a row, and they're 9-1 in their last 10 games. So that kind of gives away that we're going to be talking about them in another segment coming up later. But Toronto is absolutely one of the top 5 teams in the NHL right now. They are 12-5-1 on the season. And you got to remember that a lot of those losses came right at the beginning of the year when Toronto was pretty slow out of the gate. Those first couple weeks were not good for the Leafs. Since then, absolutely on fire. 12 wins. Not much more to say. 12-win team already. Absolutely streaking right now. One of the best in the league. They're my number 4 team.
Couldn't even disagree with you on that one, my friend. 100%. I have them as well at number 4. Look, they got 25 points on the year so far. They've played 18 games.
Yep.
Okay. Now, they're not quite up there with like the Floridas and the Carolinas, but they are a +5 differential, which, remember that conversation we had earlier about how, if your differential is a little bit in the plus side, you should be winning games.
It's weird that they're only at +5.
I know.
Because they've won so many more games that they've lost.
And you know what? Of all of the teams that we have in the top 5, right? This team here is the one with the lowest percentage. Even though we both have them at number 4, right? So what does that tell you? Toronto has been playing very, very well. The fact that they're second place in the Atlantic behind Florida with the same number of wins.
Yep.
Okay, so that's scary. And we all saw how Florida came out of the gates exploding. And, well, we'll talk about them too.
We'll talk about them in a bit.
Yeah, right. We'll get to that. All right. So Toronto is my number 4 team.
Yes. Who do you got at 3?
All right. My number 3 team is Washington Capitals.
Yes.
And I have Washington Capitals at number 3, not only for the same reasons that you have them at number 5, but also for the exact same reason that you said as well, too, that they are missing Oshie.
Yeah.
That they are missing, these key players, and they're still able to get it done. They're still able to put points in their points column. They're not winning every single game, but look, let's face it. They have 10 wins, which still puts them in the same breath as the, Toronto's, Edmonton's,
Yeah.
Florida's, Carolinas. You know what I mean? They have this virtually a lot of points
Yeah.
because they've gotten those overtime points. This is where that one case where those overtime points has really helped Washington.
Yep.
But they have played above and beyond. And the fact that they are losing that many important players and still able to take teams to overtime. They may not be able to win the overtime because obviously they're lacking the depth with those players being out and younger players and new players coming in to fill in those roles and gaps. You know what I mean? So that's what makes Washington that much more impressive. That's why I have them at number 3.
Yeah, I mean, Washington is. I mean, they've been really impressive with what they've done with the pieces out that they've had out, and just with their ability to not lose in regulation. I think that separates them. There's a lot of 10-win teams. There's a lot of teams right around that mark.
Yeah.
Washington's the only one of those teams that only has 2 regulation losses.
See, exactly.
Everyone else has lost like 4 or 5 games in regulation, and that's still a very good record, but Washington's only lost 2. And that is, to me, what kind of put Washington a little bit ahead of those other 10-win teams.
Okay, I'm with you, but that's why I had Washington higher, because Toronto does have 5 losses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Edmonton does have 4 losses in the regulation column.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they have more wins, it's tough. This whole list to do is so tough to do. And in any order, I mean, we've got all the same teams. We just have them slightly changed in order. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, all right, my man. Who do you got at number 2? Or did you give us your number 3?
No, 3 for me is
number 3 for
3 for me is
John.
Edmonton, and I'll make this quick because we talked a lot about Edmonton when we did
I
them
had
for
them at
your
number
list.
5.
You have them at 5. Edmonton, I had them at 3 last week, and I haven't seen any reason to drop them. I think what they're doing without Mike Smith is impressive. The fact that they're able to win so many games without Mike Smith, and with Koskinen completely having to carry the entire load for the most part. I mean, they have
Stuart playing very well.
They have Stuart Skinner up, but he's not playing very much. They're only playing him when they absolutely have to. Koskinen is shouldering this almost entire load, and they're still racking up wins. They're a 12-win team. There are only 4 teams in the league with 12 or more wins, and Edmonton is one of those teams. So I have them in at number 3. They've got less losses than Toronto. They've got the same number of wins. And one really impressive thing for me from this past week about Edmonton was the game. They had a back-to-back set with the Winnipeg Jets, where they played the Jets 2 games in a row. They got trounced in the first game. It was not a good showing. They got hammered by Winnipeg. And I thought they have all the excuses in the book to, not bounce back from this. Their starting goaltenders are out. They have this problem, that problem. They have all the reason in the world to, let this lead into a little bit of a slide for the Oilers. The second game against Winnipeg, they bounced right back and won. And they won that game. They kept it really low scoring. And they completely bounced back from the first loss. So that, to me, show that Edmonton is for real, that Edmonton is here to stay. And I'm not expecting a big slide from the Oilers. I mean, they're going to lose a game here and there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. They're not looking like they're going to be a team that's going to string losses together. They don't look like a team that's going to lose 5 straight. Like when they do lose, they're going to bounce back, and that's what they were able to do against Winnipeg. And that really was impressive in my eyes for the Oilers, and that's one of the main reasons I still got them up in the top 3 here.
Oh, I'm with you on that. And that's also one of the reasons why I had to keep them in the top 5. Because when you're able to do a back-to-back game like that and get trounced that first game and then come back and play so much better, that says a lot about the team.
Yep.
Honestly, you can all say what you want and everything, and with maybe some of the other, names of the team leading the team instead of the usual suspects. I personally think that this year's Edmonton team is better than last year's.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that they have a much better shot of going much deeper into the playoffs
I
this year.
100% agree. Their depth and forward group as a whole is so much better. I mean, Zach Hyman has been a huge addition to this team. Nugent
Agreed.
Hopkins is back playing
Nugent
really
Hopkins
well.
playing really well.
Puljujarvi is, fully coming into his own now as a great NHL winger. That I love their third line: Cassian, Fogle, Derek Ryan. Like they have a legit third line now. Last year, this team did not have a third line. This team did not at all have a third line last year. They had 2 fourth lines, and those lines had guys that barely belonged in the league.
Yeah.
And now they have a legitimate third line. So
you know what? John, I'm glad you brought that up, my friend, because that third line, Tampa Bay proved
how important that third line is. Absolutely.
Yes. So you pointing out that that their third line, I think right now is playing is probably one of the better third lines right now in hockey. You'd have to put them in that.
And I mean, last year they weren't even competent on the third line. So it's such a drastic increase.
Holy moly, 180-degree turn.
Such a significant improvement for the Oilers to have a real third line this year.
Agreed.
That's another thing that makes them, I think, a lot better this year than they were last year.
Exactly.
Still have questions about them, though. I still have questions about the Oilers, particularly defensively.
Until they can get over that hump.
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to trust them until they prove that they can win in the playoffs.
Right.
It's the same thing with Toronto. Like, they can be as good as they want in the regular season. They could win 60 games in the regular season. Until they win in the playoffs, you're not going to trust them because they haven't at any point proven that they can win in the playoffs.
Exactly. So, great. You can win the President's Trophy, great. But when you get into the playoffs, you can't win anything past the first round, then
matter.
I don't care how many games you're winning in the regular season. Regular season doesn't put Stanley Cup rings on my finger.
No.
I mean, I'm sorry. That's just kind of the reality of things.
Yeah, Tampa learned that the hard way in 2019.
Exactly.
And then look what, they learned that lesson, and they came back and went back-to-back. So it's a hard lesson to learn, but it is a lesson that you can learn because Tampa Bay has just done it.
And if you do learn it and then learn from it and then do make those corrections and everything, hey, look what it can happen, back-to-back cups. What
exactly.
do you know?
Exactly.
I'm with you, my friend. So you have Edmonton at number 3. All right, so now
top 2.
Who do we have at number 2?
Florida Panthers.
That's right. We both have Florida Panthers.
12-2-3. They picked up a few losses, lost a couple games in overtime, and then
it's all right.
It doesn't matter. They're right back in the win column.
Yeah, right.
They destroyed the Islanders the other night.
Mm-hmm.
Just Florida. I talk about teams, rising to the top and other teams sinking to the bottom. Florida has risen to the top and proven that they belong there and that they are going to stay there. This is a team that is going to be one of the best teams in the NHL all season long. No reason to think that they're just going to, the bottom's going to fall out here. They've done it for over a month now. I think they've pretty much established themselves as one of the top teams in the NHL this season.
Have to agree with you on that. We're into that, like we said, that first 20 games, and I would have to say, with the way Bobrovsky has been playing in Florida,
he's finally back.
Right, and I think that has helped to elevate where Florida is at.
Yep.
Eklund being back from being injured all of last year or most of last year is really helping them. Huberdeau has been playing much better. The team itself playing good team defense. This Florida Panther team, I'll tell you what, man, these cats are for real.
I think they're the deepest offensive team in the NHL.
Okay.
Like they have 4 lines that can score like their fourth line scores like some other team's second line.
Right?
Like,
I
they
mean,
offensively, I think they're the deepest scoring team in the NHL.
yeah, with Duclair on their
Oh,
lines.
Duclair, Verhaeghe, Vetrano,
Okay.
Lundell, Sam Bennett, like even fourth line guys like Lomberg and Luo
Yeah.
Starinen are chipping in. Like,
Jeez.
this team has so
They're
much
stacked.
offense in their lineup, and that's just the forwards. Never mind when you get Montour and Ekblad and
Yeah.
Forsling and guys like
Yeah.
that, Uyghur jumping in offensively from the back end. And I think Florida is the deepest offensive team. Edmonton might be the highest scoring team because of McDavid and Draisaitl, but when it
Okay.
comes to overall team depth and having multiple lines doing it, I don't think anybody touches the Florida Panthers.
I would have to agree with you on that. Okay. As far as having complete four lines,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say Florida is probably the leader in the league right now. When it comes to that, yeah, I would buy that for sure.
Yeah.
All day long. I would buy that for sure. They're almost a complete team. Like, there's very little that they are not doing right. Their power play is really good. Their penalty kills are really good. You know what I mean? So they're not giving up a lot of goals. Bob has been playing at his Vesna caliber self.
Mm-hmm.
When Spencer Knight's popped in, he's won.
Yeah.
You know?
He doesn't have great numbers, but he's winning.
Right.
And that's
So
what, at the end of the day, he's winning, and that's
right.
important.
W's in the column. That's all that really matters, So really, really impressed with Florida as well too. We both have them at number 2.
Yes.
Which I guess this is pretty fortuitous that
number one,
the number 1 team is Carolina.
Carolina Hurricanes. Most wins in the NHL, 13. 2 losses.
They only have 2 regulation losses, and that's it.
0 overtime. This team has only lost 2 games total. 0 regulation or 0 overtime losses. Only 2 regulation losses. We look at a team like the Capitals that only has 2 regulation losses, but they have 5 overtime losses.
Right.
The Panthers only have 2 regulation losses, but they've got 3 overtime losses. Like, they have more losses total. Carolina has 2 losses. 2 games that they've played this year that they have not won. That is it. They lead the NHL in wins. They are, to me, right now, obviously the number 1 team. They're a little bit more defensive than Florida is. Carolina's not going out and putting up 5 goals a night. They play more of that 3-2, 3-1 type hockey.
Yeah.
They're getting Vezina-level goaltending from Freddie Anderson. They play a great overall team defense and team structure.
Yeah.
And they have certainly enough talent and enough offense to score the goals that they need to score. They're just more comfortable playing, that 3-1 style as opposed to the 6-5 style. What Florida probably is happy playing a 6-5 game. Carolina wants it to be lower scoring than that, but that suits their style perfectly. And still, 2 losses total. That's it. We're over a month into the season, and you've only lost 2 games. They are on pace to be potentially a team that could rival those record-setting wins teams like Tampa Bay in 2018-19 or Detroit back when they had 62 wins. Like, this is a team that could push for that.
Could. Yeah, I with them being like at this point in the season, with them being quite at where they are and quite the level of where they are.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Florida being one of the most complete teams with having 4 lines.
Yeah.
Right. So what I think of Carolina is the elite of that. Not only do they have 4 lines that they can roll, but their defense pinches when they need to, hangs back when they need to. They make you earn every inch of ice out there.
Yeah.
They outwork you. They out hustle you. They outshoot you. They out hit you. They out block you. They out face off you.
Yep.
I mean, they just outdo everything and they make it look easy.
Yep.
They just do. They just make it look easy. They lost their entire goaltending room for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Their starting goaltender, the backup goaltender,
And the third goaltender.
And the whole goalie room for the most part.
Yeah.
And just brought in everybody new, and it didn't matter.
Doesn't that show you how great their team defense is and like their overall structure defensively? Because
when you can take Darcy Kemper and make him look really, really good, that's really good team defense, and that's exactly what Carolina's doing. Not taking anything away from Darcy Kemper.
Freddie
really,
Anderson?
That too, you know what I mean? So, okay. Doing good. What do you think?
Yeah, no, they've been phenomenal. I mean, they made Peter Mrazek look like a great goaltender. I mean, Peter Mrazek put up high level stats with Carolina in front of him,
and so now Nedeljkovic
put up almost Rookie of the Year numbers last year. He was a finalist.
Right. Okay. But they just said, okay, yeah, we don't need you guys.
Yeah, Reimer, see you later. Mrazek, we don't need you. We'll trade you, or we'll let you leave in free agency. Nedeljkovic will trade you. They will bring in Frederik Andersen, who's having one of the best years of his career.
Yeah.
Bring in Antti Raanta to back him up. Raanta wasn't even good last season, and he's been fine.
Right.
Alex Lyon, we need an organizational third goaltender. Okay. Like it's wild. And the difference for me, Carolina, I think about defense first and then the offense. Florida's the opposite. Florida, I think about the high-flying offense, and then the defense and everything comes after. And the statistics back that up. Carolina, while they do score, they're scoring 3.4 goals per game, is first in the league in goals against per game. They're giving up less than 2 goals a game this season. Right. 1.87 goals against per game for Carolina. Wow. Meanwhile, Florida, while giving up a little bit more goals per game at 2.41, is the highest scoring team in the NHL so far this season at 3.88 goals for per game.
In fact, they have, I'm looking here at the list, right? The next closest is the Capitals with 58 goals for. Florida has 66. Capitals have 58 goals for, right? Mm-hmm. Their goals against is 43, and that's pretty much almost everybody on that same list there. Toronto, Tampa Bay.
Right around there.
Yeah. But like Carolina, 28.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going, wait a minute.
They've given up less than 2 goals a game. It's wild.
That's a big drop off, man.
Yeah.
I mean, 43 to 28, that's a big drop off.
Significant difference. So Carolina definitely edged defensively. And right now an edge in the win column over everybody else in the NHL.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So sorry about that. I made that mistake there about Kemper going to Carolina. That was a big boo-boo. Sorry about that.
He's in Colorado.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Finally starting to get his game together a little bit.
Yeah.
As the Avalanche in general are.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what. Whew, been a tough road up Colorado way in the Rockies there for them. But yeah, sorry about that little boo-boo. Got a lot of stuff flying around here.
All right. That's
there
our
you
list.
go, man. That's it, right? That's
our power rankings.
Yeah, that's all of them, right? So we got Carolina number 1, Florida number 2 for both of us. Then we deviate. I have Washington, Toronto, Edmonton, and you have Edmonton, Toronto, Washington.
So same teams, different order.
Exactly.
All right. Best game of last week. Moving on, we take a look at what we think was the best game from this past week of action. Steele, you can go first here. What was your best game of this last week of action?
You know, when we talked about this last week and we looked down at the Saturday matchups, right? Yep. And we were like, well, gosh, pick one.
Yeah.
You know, this one was really hard to pick one of the best games from last week.
There were a lot of good ones.
That's what I mean. I watched like 4 games last week. 4 total games.
Yep.
Okay, and then I watch all like the condensed to get the condensed games.
The
That's still
5-minute highlights. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But it's 9 minutes, for each one, right?
Yep.
So, and I'll tell you what, I sat down the other night to watch the Philadelphia Tampa Bay game on the 18th. Was just last night, Thursday night. Okay, and I thought, man, this was going to be a horrible game. Right? I really thought that Tampa Bay was just going to come in there and just, smear Philadelphia all over the ice.
Yep.
Right? Because this was actually one of the first times that Philadelphia has played Tampa Bay where it actually meant something, where it was actually this felt like a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
It really did. Because Tampa Bay came in there, they're the Cup champs, the whole 9 yards, blah, blah, blah. Flyers coming in, they kind of limped in with some guys that were surprisingly not on the ice, and then Ellis being placed on the IR and all that. And Philadelphia coming in here, not really, I wasn't expecting them to be anywhere close. And they punched Tampa Bay in the mouth. And I was just so elated by that. This game was just back and forth all game long. There were some sick looking goals in this game. And as advertised, I think, I'm going to say it, I think you're seeing the two candidates for Vezina played in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Yes, I'm saying that about Carter Hart. Okay? And I'm also saying that about Vasilevsky.
Yep.
Right? Philadelphia was able to beat him during the game. There was a last second. Giroux tied the game. There was 9 seconds left, and he tied it up with 9 seconds left and put it into overtime. Right? Get into overtime. That was the best 5 minutes of overtime hockey I have seen in years. There wasn't a single whistle.
Yep.
They played
back and forth.
Straight. 5 minutes back and forth, line change, shot after shot, chance after chance, goalie save after amazing goalie save after amazing goalie save. Both goalies played amazing.
Yep.
Get to the shootout, and Tampa Bay is just too stacked.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, when your first guy out of the gate is Stamkos.
Yep.
And he goes up there and goes, clank, score.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be a long night. So that's why I picked that game. Was not expecting Philadelphia to even hold a candle to Tampa Bay at all. And they punched him in the mouth and was able to hold their own. Took him to the shootout and realized that, okay, Vasilevsky's a pretty dang good goalie.
Yep.
So that was what my game was. John, what was your game?
This one came from last night, and I was not expecting this to be one of the top games of the week, but boy, did it turn into one. The Columbus Blue Jackets against the Arizona Coyotes.
Oh.
And I talk about Arizona playing a lot better recently. They picked up the big win over the Blues, and then they come out and they play Columbus, and holy cow, this was a 5-4 game. Didn't know Arizona could score like that. Columbus does end up winning in a shootout, but it was a long shootout. I think it went like 7 rounds, if I remember off the top of my head. It was a long shootout.
Okay.
It was a back and forth game. There was obviously a ton of goals, 8 real goals, and then the extra from the shootout. But 9 total goals. There was a fight. Cole Sillinger for the Blue Jackets got in his first NHL fight against Ryan Dzingel.
Oh, there you go.
And this was just a back and forth fun game. And like every time Columbus would score, Arizona would answer like within like a minute. It was unreal how quick their answers were. Like Columbus would take a lead and then Arizona would answer just like that. And then Columbus took a lead again. And then Arizona just answered like that. And Columbus went up 4-3 late in the third, and they thought that they thought that was going to be it and they were going to hang on for the win. Nope. Jacob Chikrin, like literally like a minute later, wrist shot, goal, game's tied back up. It's 4-4. They go through overtime, exciting overtime, but nobody was able to put anything in. And then obviously it goes to the breakaway contest to finish it. And then even the shootout, like both teams had goals. Like Arizona scores, Columbus answers. Columbus scores, Arizona answers. And then it comes down to the end. And they were able to, Columbus was able to get the winning goal. And it was just a wild game between two teams that you wouldn't expect to play one of the best games of the week. And when you're looking at the NHL schedule, I don't think anybody's going and saying, Columbus, Arizona, that's going to be the best game of the night. I need to watch that game. Right. But that's what it ended up being. So that was my pick for this week.
There you go, man. That sounds awesome. That was not even one that it wasn't even on my radar, to be honest with you.
And it ended up being a great game.
You know what I mean? Did you call that game?
No.
Oh, you didn't even call that game?
No, I just was following along, and I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah, right. There you go. That's awesome. Both on the same night, too, by the way.
Yeah, it was a good night last night.
It was, man. I'll tell you what, man, the NHL has really been putting some solid scheduling together. They've been putting together some really good matchups
games
here.
on every night. Like even the Chicago-Seattle game on Wednesday was really good.
I know.
The Minnesota San Jose game I did on Tuesday, that was a fun game.
Dude, that was awesome.
That was a really fun
good
hockey
show,
game
by the
to
way.
watch. So
for sure.
There's good games on every night.
Exactly. How could you go wrong, man? Come on.
Glad I get to watch so many of them.
I know. Isn't it awesome, right? And I'll tell you what, getting that subscription was definitely worth it.
Oh, well worth it.
Yeah, well worth it.
I've already made up for my year subscription. And a little over a month into the season, it's already worth it.
For you. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. I agree, 100%. I'm with you. All right, my man, here we go. This is another one of our favorite topics on the show here. It's another great topic that we love to get into. It is the 3 stars of the week. Yes. These are the 3 players that we feel deserve the 3 stars. You know, the NHL does it for the week, and then they do it for the month.
Yep.
And teams do it locally for their players and blah, blah, blah. We do it as well here too. So why not? Let's jump into it. 3 stars of the week. And John, who do you got at number 3?
Number 3, this is a guy that is not usually on a list like this because he's a 4th liner. But how about Garnet Hathaway for the Washington Capitals? 4 games played from last Friday through tonight, and obviously nothing's happening tonight. 4 games played, 5 goals, 1 assist, 6 points.
Wow.
5 even strength points, 2 game-winning goals. So 2 of those 5 goals were game winners.
Wow.
And Garnet Hathaway, who's a 4th line grinder, big hitter, can drop the gloves. Not usually putting out point production like this. 5 goals in 4 games, 6 total points. And what a week for Garnet Hathaway of the Washington Capitals. He is my number 3 star.
Yeah, buddy. I always love when those kind of guys get the recognition.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It's great to be able to put a depth player on a 3 stars list. Absolutely.
Because that's like an offensive lineman getting,
getting
recognition
player of the
for
game.
something good.
Yeah.
You're right. Because usually when you see the offensive lineman, they're either holding or they snap the ball over the guy's head or something stupid.
They false start. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be like that's like a left tackle getting like the Super Bowl MVP. It's like
there you go. Oh,
that
wow,
just doesn't happen. But it's good to see a depth guy get on the list for sure.
For real, man. I'm with you on that. So that's great. Usually we try to separate this out and divvy it out equally. We like to give everybody an equal slice of the pie here. I had to look at Jack Campbell, the Toronto goaltender, for his 2 games played, the last 2 games played that he's played. And man, I'll tell you what, these numbers jump out at you and smack you in the face.
He's been unreal.
So you went one more than I did, but I because you went from Friday, I think I went Saturday. I can't remember. But I had Jack Campbell
Friday.
Yeah, I have Jack Campbell in here for 2 games played. He's 2-0 in those 2 games played with a .981 save percentage. So that means that Jack Campbell is stopping the puck.
98% of the time.
How you doing?
That's
Right?
wild.
And okay. And his goals against is that's a .50, meaning the defense is playing pretty good in front of him.
Yep.
Okay. In that 2 game stretch that I have him for, he has one shutout, and then he stopped 51 of 52 goals in those 2 games.
Yep.
Okay. So that's my number 3 star. Those numbers just kind of smack me in the face, so that's why I had to pick him.
Yeah, well, I have Jack Campbell as well. He's my number 2 star of this week. 3-0-0
Mm-hmm.
this from Friday through Friday.
Yep.
976 save percentage, 0.66 goals against average, 1 shutout, and he stopped 81 out of 83 shots. So the extra game that I added in, he was another game where he only gave up 1 goal. So just a spectacular week for Jack Campbell. Obviously, 5-game winning streak for the Maple Leafs. Campbell, a big reason why.
Yep.
He's playing outstanding right now. He's becoming one of my favorite goalies in the league. I love watching Jack Campbell. He's a late bloomer too. He was a high draft pick and then really just kind of toiled around in the AHL for a long time. Yeah. When he made the NHL, he was a backup and never really became that star guy that he was supposed to until now. And he's a late bloomer, but he is now becoming that star goaltender that he was drafted to be. And it's really good to see. It's a great story. And I am certainly rooting for him. And he's been a lot of fun to watch, and he's having a spectacular season.
For sure. And it always takes goalies, unless they're like phenoms.
Yeah, I love it. Like, you have the Andre Vasilevskis and the Carter Harts who come in at a very young age, early 20s, and are able to play at a high level. But for a lot of goaltenders, it's 25, 26, sometimes even 29, 30 before they really become an NHL goaltender.
Yep.
And that's kind of been the case with Campbell. He's been a late bloomer, but boy, has it been worth the wait.
And how fortuitous is it for Toronto that his blooming is happening now?
Yeah.
Right?
He was, I think, originally drafted maybe by Dallas, if I remember correctly.
Like yeah.
I got to look that up now. I know he played for LA before.
Okay.
Yeah, he was drafted in the first round in 2010 by the Dallas Stars, 11th overall.
Wow.
He was a top 15 draft pick by the Stars back in 2010. And then, obviously, after years, Dallas gave up on him. He got played for LA. LA used him kind of as a backup goaltender. He was like on that AHL, NHL line, played some NHL games as a backup, but he's really blossomed now with Toronto. Like
I said, very fortuitous timing for Toronto to have him blossoming right now for them, So that's really awesome. My number 2 star is Robert Thomas.
St. Louis.
Another unheard of name, another, not the household name that that you hear.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? From St. Louis, 4 games played. He has 1 goal, but he has 5 assists.
Yep.
Okay. For 6 points. He's an even player. And one of those goals was a game-winning goal. That 1 goal that he did score was a game-winning goal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But when you have 5 assists and you're one of those types of guys like we were talking about with Garnet Hathaway, Robert Thomas is kind of in that same kind of, he's playing almost 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, he's developing very nicely into a second-line player for sure.
Exactly. Taking it and getting it done for St. Louis. I have him as my number 2 star for sure. And so, all right, my man, who do you got at number 1?
A familiar name at number 1, Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers. 4 games played, casually 5 goals, 2 assists.
Casually.
7 points. 5 power play points.
Jeez.
And he's playing over 24.5 minutes a night. That is nuts for a forward. Like I hope people realize like how crazy that is for a forward. Can defensemen play 24, 34 a night? Yes. Number one defensemen do it regularly. Number one defensemen sometimes play over 25 minutes a night.
Sometimes, yep.
It's not a big deal for a defenseman to put up ice time like that.
Correct.
For a forward to be playing almost 25 minutes a night, most teams cap their top line guys at around 21 minutes.
Yeah.
21 minutes. You really don't see forwards going above that very often. Leon Draisaitl has played 24-34 per game over the last 4 games. That is unreal ice time for a forward. And he's producing. He doesn't look tired. He's not slowing down. He's producing. He's putting up a ton of points. And I think Draisaitl has been the best player this year. I think he's leading the league in points. He's leading the league in goals. If you were picking an MVP right now, I think it's Leon Draisaitl.
You know what?
He's outplayed
McDavid. I can't even argue that.
Like McDavid has been spectacular, and Draisaitl's outplayed McDavid.
Yeah.
At least production-wise.
In the same amount of games, okay, McDavid has 2 goals, 4 assists.
Yeah.
Right? So, and McDavid is a -1. He's got 23 minutes of ice time.
So just over the course of the season as a whole, they both played 16 games. Draisaitl has 17 goals. McDavid has 11. Draisaitl has 16 assists. McDavid has 19. Draisaitl has 33 points. McDavid has 30. Draisaitl is +10. McDavid is +3.
Jeez, can you say offense?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It is. It really is. So, I mean, good gravy.
You could argue that the 2 best players in the league play on the same team because it's McDavid and Draisaitl are the 2 you could say are the 2 best players in the NHL.
Yeah. I mean, and they play on the same team.
And they play on the same team.
That's scary.
No wonder their power play is 40%.
And no wonder they play. Each of them plays over 20 minutes a game because they're also out there on the power play too.
Yeah, they're out there for like the entire power play too. Like those guys don't come off; they play the full 2 minutes.
Right. You know, only the other guys switch out. They stay.
McDavid and Dry stay. Yeah.
Right. I'm with you on that. My number 1 star is Mr. Nazem Kadri, the center from Colorado. I have him on here because there was a lot of guys that were at 6 points.
Yep.
Okay. He has 2 goals and 4 assists in those 2 games. That's still pretty serious. That's averaging 3 points a game for 2 games.
Yeah, that's wild.
Okay, that's why I have him at number 1. Because that's 3 points a game.
Holy cow.
Okay. 1 power play goal. He's playing over 20 minutes of ice time. He's playing like normal, ice time for a forward. Not like Leon Draisaitl or McDavid. He's playing his normal 20 minutes, right?
Yes.
+2, 6 points. But yeah, that's why I have him in there as my number 1 star.
How in the world? Wow, he had a goal and 2 assists against San Jose, and then he had a goal and 2 assists against Vancouver. So that's how he's got his 3 points per game, because over the past 2 games, he's had a goal and 2 assists in each of the last 2.
And there you go, folks. That's why I have him as my number 1 star.
Well, that certainly makes a lot of sense.
Right? So, I mean, like I said, I figured that you would pick Leon Draisaitl. I pretty much figured I counted on you doing that.
I am a big Draisaitl fan.
No, sure. I am too. I'm more of. I like watching guys. Like, I really am a fan of McDavid. I really am a fan of Austin Matthews. I really am a fan of guys like that.
Yep.
Like Dominic Hasek, like Martin Brodeur, like Patrick Waugh, some of those good goalies. I like seeing those. I like seeing Guys like Jeremy Roenick score, LaFontaine scoring. I like seeing guys like Adam Foote scoring and stuff like that. I mean, guys that just have some sick moves. It just, look, you just have to appreciate the talent that's out there.
Yep, absolutely.
And there surely is a lot of that.
There's no shortage of talent, that's for sure.
Nope. All right, my man. Here we go.
Yes.
Hottest and coldest teams, one of our favorite segments. And as we always do, we like to start with the positive first.
Yes.
So, my man, John, why don't you start off with your hottest teams so far?
Yes. All right. I'm going to do this quick because we are short on time. But my third hottest team, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they are 7-1-2 in their last 10 games. So they're starting to feel like the Tampa Bay Lightning again.
Yep.
They've won their last 3. So they got a little bit of a good streak going here, but 7 out of 10, that is pretty darn good. And a good win streak on top of that. Tampa at number 3. Number 2, I've got the Carolina Hurricanes. They are 8-2-0 in their last 10 games. Just one more win than Tampa Bay out of their last 10. Also on a 3-game winning streak. And, obviously Carolina has been one of the best teams all season long. But number 1, this was an easy one. The Toronto Maple Leafs are the hottest team in the NHL right now. They are 9-1-0 in their last 10 games, and they're on a 5-game winning streak. So not only have they ripped off 5 straight, but they've won 9 out of 10. That is absolutely on fire, and Toronto is number 1.
For sure. Like those teams on John's list. Yeah, man. Here we go. All right. I have the said Carolina Hurricanes at number 3 with their 3 wins in a row. I know they're 8-2-0, but I base my
we have different criteria for this.
Right. So my hottest teams are based off of the number of wins in a row.
Yes.
Right now, Carolina, there was a plethora of teams tied at number 3, but I just really liked that Carolina was 8-2-0 in that stretch, so that's why I have them at number 3. Number 2 for me is the Chicago Bears. I'm sorry, the Chicago Blackhawks. Sorry.
Chicago Bears wish they were on a good list.
They wish they had won 4 in a row.
Yeah.
They wish they had that record.
Yeah.
The Chicago Blackhawks, I have to give them some love. They're the vice president's hometown team. They have won 4 in a row. That's why I have them number 2 on the list as one of my hottest teams. They did not start the year off very well. Fleury was not doing well. There was a lot of issues and a lot of things going on there in Chicago. And in spite of everything, they do seem to be turning some things around here, and they've been able to put 4 wins in a row together. So that's why I have Chicago at number 2. Toronto Maple Leafs, not the Toronto Marlies or the any of the other teams. Toronto Maple Leafs, the NHL team, is who I have at number 1. That exactly why John has them at number 1. This was easy, 5 games in a row. They've also only lost 1 out of the last 10. I know I don't use that as a criteria, but the fact that they've won 5 in a row and not necessarily against teams like Arizona's and Seattle's and stuff like that. They've been playing really good teams and winning against good teams as well too. So that's my 3 hottest teams: Carolina number 3, Chicago Blackhawks number 2, Toronto Maple Leafs number 1.
All right, we'll switch over to the other side of things now. The not so good side, the coldest teams. For me, coming in at number 3 is the Montreal Canadiens. They are 2-6-2 in their last 10 games. They've lost 3 straight, and it's not been a good year for Montreal. That continues, just 2 wins in their last 10. Vancouver also only has 2 wins in their last 10. They are 2-7-1, and on a 4-game losing streak. Vancouver has had a brutal year. They've once again become one of the biggest disappointments in the NHL. And I don't know, I'm pretty angry with them right now, so I'm not going to elaborate much more on that. But my number 1 coldest team, longest active losing streak right now in the league, belongs to the Seattle Kraken. They have really, really struggled here. They're 3-7-0 in their last 10, but they've lost 5 straight, including games on home ice that, you would think that being at home would at least give them a little bit of an edge. Hasn't really helped.
No.
Seattle's in a lot of trouble here and sinking, one of those teams along with Vancouver and Montreal that is sinking low to the bottom of the standings, and it's been a rough start for the Kraken.
Yeah. Speaking of cold, how about Vancouver? I'm with you. They're my number 3 coldest team. They've lost 4 in a row. They're falling down into a hole where they're not going to probably be able to get out of.
No.
They continue to go down that road, and they aren't going to be able to come out of that.
No. They need major changes.
Exactly, and that's the shame, too, because we really felt that Vancouver was going to take that next step and be a little bit better this year because they showed signs, right.
They have the roster. They're just not performing, and that, I think, comes back on the coach and the GM that's had 8 years to rebuild that team and hasn't.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm hoping for major Vancouver changes.
You might see some of them. You might.
I'm hoping.
So my number 2 coldest team is the New York Islanders. I know we talked about them earlier in the show, but I have them on this list because they have lost 4 in a row.
Yep.
They have opened up the season on the road. All 13 of their first games have been on the road, and they have lost 4 in a row. I'm really hoping that some slice of home cooking will help them in the next coming weeks, because I really kind of feel that the New York Islanders being down where they are right now is not where we were expecting them to be this year.
Certainly not.
Right now at this point in time. So no, hoping to see New York Islanders turn that around. My number 1 coldest team as well is the same as John's. Them Seattle Krakens, man, I'll tell you what, for as darn good as those jerseys look, and for as good as they look on paper, I just feel bad for them because they hired Hackstall. I just don't think that coach is going to match the talent that's on that team.
Well, the other thing is their goaltending.
Right. I don't think the system it's not putting the players in the right positions to be successful, and it's leaving the goaltending hanging out to dry, and the goaltending hasn't been all that great either.
No, analytically, Grubauer's been the worst starting goaltender in the NHL this year.
Right. So that would explain why Seattle would be one of the coldest teams in the league. What do you think?
Yes, they're getting very bad goaltending right now.
Okay, my man, here we go. This is one of our favorite parts of the show.
Lightning round time. Time for some predictions. All right, let's go. This is going to be fun. I had a good bounce back week.
Yes, you did. You really did, man. Last week, John was 9-4 on your picks, and Steele was, not quite as successful. I was 6-7. So, but ironically, now this is the crazy part. We have the exact same record.
Yeah.
We're both 34-28.
All right. Hey, we're above 500. That's a win in itself right
there.
No,
but I mean, we're both 34-28.
Yeah, we both got the exact same record so far. Well, I had such an awful week 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I needed
and
the bounce
I really
back
had a great
this week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And got it.
All right, my man.
All right, let's go. Let's have some fun.
Here we go. All right. These are for games just on Saturday night. That's the 20th of November. These are just for Saturday night games, and we just predict who we think is going to win, and then we go from there.
Yes.
All right, sir. The first game on the docket, Carolina versus L.A.
Carolina.
Kings.
I love L.A., but Carolina, I mean, how can you pick against them with the way that they are right now?
I mean, duh. This isn't even hard for me.
No.
Really. And in fact, the next couple games aren't going to be hard either. New Jersey Devils at Tampa Bay Lightning.
Tampa Bay. Lightning are starting to look like the Lightning again. Got to go with the Lightning.
And they're playing down in the Emile Center, and I'm here to tell you, it's tough to win down there.
Yeah.
Anybody. Doesn't matter who you are. All right. We got Minnesota at Florida.
This is a great matchup and a great game because Minnesota's really good this year. But Florida's at home. Panthers, just destroyed the Islanders. I'm going to go with the Panthers in this one.
And they also beat New Jersey pretty handedly the other night too. So I'm going with Florida on this one all the way too. Pittsburgh versus Toronto.
Toronto, hottest team in the league. Got to go with the Leafs. And
Can't go wrong.
Pittsburgh hasn't been great this year.
I'm not even gonna. I don't even have to say anything. I'm just gonna say Toronto.
Yeah.
Nashville versus Montreal.
Nashville.
Yep, that was easy too.
Montreal stinks.
Montreal's not been good, and Nashville's been coming around and playing a little bit better. This one here you go. This is your game, Calgary versus the Islanders.
And I'm gonna take the Islanders just because I hope they win. I want to see them win in their first game at the new arena. So they might not. Calgary could easily win this game, but I'm gonna take the Islanders just as a good sentimental pick.
Okay, because I really think it's gonna get.
I think Calgary's probably gonna win.
Yeah. I have to go with the gut on this one here, buddy.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I think Calgary's probably gonna win, but I'm gonna pick the Islanders for sentimental reasons.
I got you. No, trust me, I get you because the next game is good. I can just see this next game now. Boston at Philly.
Boston.
Ooh.
I've been impressed. The last weekend, I mean, they haven't played in 5 days, but last weekend, Boston showed the level of team that they can be. And if they play like that, then they should be one of the best teams in the East.
Are you looking at the document?
Yes.
All right. And you notice how I have the one filled in there for your name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Yeah. As expected.
Oh, he's going with the hometown
As
Philly.
Expected.
I just got a feeling, man. They played Tampa Bay. They punched Tampa Bay in the mouth. They showed me something with Ellis being out, with Hayes being out. That team showed me something. Carter Hart really played really well. I'm going with Philadelphia on this one.
That's going to be a great game.
It's going to be a great game. That's going to be a great game. That's must-watch TV right there.
Both teams have 8 wins, don't they?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a very good game.
Yeah, baby. This is going to feel like a playoff game, I bet you. The last time Philadelphia and Boston played, that game felt like a playoff game.
Yeah, that was a lousy showing from the Bruins.
It was.
That's one of the other reasons I think Boston is going to want to show it up more in this game because that was a lousy showing the first time they played.
I get you. But like I said, man, that was a playoff atmosphere in that game, and you have to admit that.
Oh, it always is when Boston and Philly
Yeah,
plays.
buddy. That's because Boston's playing you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Detroit versus Arizona.
I'm going to take Arizona. They've impressed me with the way they've played their last few games. They're keeping every game close. They're starting to show some more signs of offense. Detroit is kind of slipped down a little bit here recently. It feels so weird, but I'm going to take Arizona. Another sentimental pick.
Yeah, just because I'm not. Yeah, I'll go with that too. St. Louis versus Dallas.
St. Louis. Dallas is just unimpressive.
I have not liked. The only game that they played that was impressive was against the Flyers.
Yeah, they'll win like random games where they play really well, and then the other games they look awful.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's like, wait a minute, you play one game really well, and then you play the next 5 games really badly.
Exactly, that's what Dallas is doing.
That's what I mean. Like, all right, Columbus and Vegas. Columbus Blue Jackets versus Vegas at Vegas.
Vegas. I'm going home team advantage there. Vegas has been playing better too.
And they have they got Stone back too, don't they?
Yeah, Stone came back, so that's a big addition.
I gotta go with that too. With Stone back, I gotta go with that. Just because I haven't. I know Columbus has been playing better this year, but I'm just not on that wagon yet.
No.
Next one, Chicago at Edmonton.
Edmonton. Yeah, and Chicago's playing a heck of a lot better. Credit to them for what they've been able to do with this turnaround, but I think the win streak stops here. Edmonton's just
all day.
One of the best teams.
You got it. All right, last one. Washington at San Jose.
Washington, better team.
Yep, all day. Even even at San Jose,
Yeah,
even at the Shark
Washington's played
Tank.
well on the road. I'll
They have.
give them the win in this one.
Yep, that's what I got too. There you go. All right. All picked and ready to go, my friend. All we have to do now is wait for the games to happen.
Yeah, we got to watch tomorrow and see what happens.
There you go. All right, my man. Now we're moving on to our pick of which game of the week we feel that you guys should watch.
Absolutely.
We will have a game that we each feel that we should watch and that y'all should watch too. We'll be watching those games that we pick, and we feel that you guys should be watching them too.
Yeah.
So, John, which game you got on your docket for this coming Thanksgiving week?
Yeah, New York Rangers against the New York Islanders on the 24th, which is Wednesday. Obviously, huge rivalry. Don't really need to explain that to any hockey fan. It's New York versus New York, Islanders versus Rangers.
Duh.
It is the first meeting of the season between these two rivals.
Oh.
And it also is the first time the New York Rangers will obviously ever visit UBS Arena. So Isles playing at home against their biggest longtime rival, the other New York team, and they could really use a win because, as we've talked about throughout this show, the Islanders are really struggling right now. So there's a big 2 points on the line. The Rangers are playing well. The Islanders are not. This would be a big game for the Islanders to win. So I just think with the rivalry there, with it being the first meeting of the season, with it being at the new arena, and then the Islanders needing a win so badly, this could be a really big matchup on Wednesday night.
Man, that I'll definitely be checking that game out for sure. Can't wait to see that game. Like I said, some of these games were really, really tough, and I was really going to pick the Boston-Philly game because I really felt it, because that's like a rematch game as well, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I went the other way. I went Philly and Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Because that's another rematch game.
Yes.
Okay? Tampa Bay won the last game with the shootout. Okay? And this one is now down in Florida. In Tampa Bay, okay? And Philadelphia has been playing much better this year. I felt they punched Tampa Bay in the mouth. I think they can hold their own. The only problem is that it just can't go to a shootout.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you got to beat these guys in regulation or in overtime. You just can't go to the shootout because they're too stacked. And their goaltending is too good. So that's what I have. I have Philly and Tampa Bay for the 23rd rematch game on that one. So
that'll be a great matchup for sure.
Should be, for sure. And our last but not least, and one of our other favorite parts of the show, the Prospect Watch.
Yes.
John, my friend, who is the young up-and-comer you have on your list for this week's Prospect Watch?
Well, I found another player at the University of Michigan who is a first-round draft pick.
A player from Michigan?
Yeah, first-round draft pick. Another one playing for the University of Michigan. This one, though, is Brendan Brisson, a 20-year-old center who is 6 feet tall, 185 pounds, so he's got an NHL body already. He was drafted in the first round, 29th overall, end of the first round in 2020 by the Vegas Golden Knights. Nice. Vegas is a team that their center depth is often questioned and talked a lot about. Well, they've got a really good young center coming up with Brendan Brisson. And this year on the absolute powerhouse that is Michigan hockey, 12 games played, 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points, and a +5 rating. So over a point per game, 8 goals already on the year, a plus player. And he's not even like one of the Power and Beniers and
not even
Johnson.
One of the big guns.
Like he's not even the superstar of the team. No. He's just one of many first-round draft picks that are on that Michigan team, and he's having a very solid start to the season. So he looking like a very good young player that will be hopefully playing for Vegas sooner rather than later.
Well, when you're playing for the powerhouse team like Michigan, and you're not even, like, he's probably third or fourth liner.
No, he's a
The
top
second
6
line?
guy, but he's not
Oh, yes.
he's not the first. Like when you rattle off names from Michigan, he's
Yeah,
not
he's
the
not
first one that comes up, which just
right.
shows how stacked Michigan is.
Okay. So the fact that he's that deep in Michigan and is able to still put up this amount of production
Oh yeah.
at this age, yeah, and with the hockey body already, 6 foot, 185 pounds, yeah, definitely. I think he'll be coming in sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, my friend. I picked Seth Jarvis. He was a Carolina Hurricanes drafted him first round, 13th overall in the draft. And I'll tell you what, he's playing now. Okay, he was picked in the 2020 draft, 13th overall, number 1 first round.
Yep.
Carolina picked him. He's a 19-year-old center. He's 5'10". He's 175 pounds, so he's a thick 5'10". You know what I mean? He was playing for the Portland Winterhawks. Are you ready for this? In 24 games, 15 goals, 12 assists for 27 points.
Yep.
A +6 player, right? He's played in 8 games for the Hurricanes right now. He's got 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points and +2.
Yep.
Yeah, getting it done.
Oh yeah, very good young player.
Good young player, good pickup for Carolina in this one. Playing with those Portland Winterhawks, playing really, really well. And then Carolina saw fit to bring him up and let him play a couple of games here. We'll see if he stays.
I think he's staying at this point.
Yeah, you have to get him past the 10-game mark.
Yeah. They could send him back to junior up until he plays 9 games.
Right.
Or the 9th game, they could still send him back. But if he plays 10...
he can play 9 games.
Yeah, if he plays 10, then he's staying.
Correct.
And right now, it seems like he's probably going to stay.
Well, if he plays 1 more game or 2 more games, then he's definitely staying.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about them sending him back.
And down, right. So that's the other thing too. That says a lot about him if he's able to come up and play those games and then stick around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he's got 4 points in 8 games, so pretty decent production for a guy that's playing more of like a bottom 6 role.
Exactly, and a +2. So it's not like he's letting, he's not a negative player either. So
no. He's a really good young player. He's going to be a star for the Hurricanes.
I think so too. That's why I picked him. So I thought he was a good draft pick too. So, well, there you go, man. How about that?
Another one in the books.
John, I want to tell you something, man. I can't thank you enough, and this is how much I can't thank you enough. We have a major announcement that we're going to bring you here, folks. Steel Flyers All Sports Network has been blessed to get a trial partnership with Manscaped, and one of the shows that they decided to do was Off the Wall Hockey. And it's because of you great people and all of your viewership, your sponsorship, all the likes, all the great stuff that you guys have to say when we're on the show and all that stuff. That's why they picked this show as one of the shows. So John and I are going to be official Manscaped ambassadors. So this is going to start in December is when this is all going to start. And we'll have all kinds of great stuff for you guys to check out and all that. But all of the hard work that John does here on this show, that's why these things are happening. Okay, it's because of all the hard work that John does and because all the great viewership that we have out there from all you folks. So thank you very much, John, for all the hard work. And thank you folks for watching and checking us out, man.
Yeah, and thank you for co-hosting. As always, it's great to have you on and do this every week and talk some great NHL action.
You got it, man. And then here's the cool part, right? So like after this show, like you can just go check John out and he'll call games.
Yeah.
And if you're not watching John's calling games, man, you guys are missing out for sure, though. You got to check John calling out games, man. That's good stuff.
Absolutely.
Got to be checking that out. So
yeah, very excited to have Manscaped coming on board, and hopefully we can get some support for them from our viewers, and we can make this a long-term relationship with them. That would be really, really cool for sure.
Exactly.
That's now going to bring us here to the end of episode 44. The Off the Wall Hockey Show is a hockey show for hockey fans, part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. You can check out all of the work from everyone at Steel Flyers on www.steelflyers.com. And that brings us to the end of another week of NHL action. We'll have a whole other week to talk about coming up next week. And we'll have a lot more games played, a lot more stories, a lot more happening. And it's going to be an exciting one for sure. Really looking forward to this upcoming week of games. So
for sure, can't wait.
With that, guys, I want to say good night. Thank you to all of you for all of the support, because this would not be happening without you. Obviously, if there's no audience, then we can't do this. So we're very, very grateful for all of you who watch and support the show. And again, thank you guys so much. Have a great night. Have a great weekend, and have a great Thanksgiving. It will be it will be Thanksgiving next week for those of you in the United States. Canadian Thanksgiving is a little different, but in the U.S., have a happy Thanksgiving coming up this coming Thursday, and that's obviously a very big holiday, a great day to spend with friends and family. So hope that you guys all have a great day on Thursday. And we'll be back talking about a whole new week of action next week with episode 45. But thank you guys again so much. Talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. Have a great Thanksgiving. And we'll see you next week.